At an elite family dinner, under a chandelier worth more than my car, I sat beside my wife Kayla, who hadn't made eye contact with me all evening. Her father, Robert Lancaster, CEO of Lancaster Holdings, lifted his wine glass, smirking in that smug way he always did when he was about to belittle someone. "He can't even afford a proper office," Robert sneered, looking directly at me. "He's my daughter's biggest mistake." The table burst into awkward laughter. Forks paused midair. My throat burned, but I stayed quiet, clenching my jaw so tight I thought I'd break a tooth. Then, like thunder splitting the sky, a voice spoke up from the far end of the table. "Actually, that's my son." Every head turned. It was Mr. Callahan, billionaire, real estate mogul, and Robert's biggest client. I leaned back in my seat and smiled. Robert's face turned pale. So pale, it looked like the blood had evaporated from under his skin. He stammered, but the silence did more damage than any insult could. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. His humiliation was the only applause I'd ever wanted from that man. But while the room collapsed under the weight of his shame, I felt a strange shift beside me. Kayla wasn't looking at me. She was texting under the table. Her lips curled into a subtle smirk. I leaned toward her and whispered, "Everything okay?" She didn't even look up. "Yeah, just business." Business. Kayla worked in HR at a nonprofit. There were no emergencies on a Saturday night. And that was the moment, the exact moment. I felt it. That awful, skin-crawling intuition. The kind of feeling that makes you cold even in a room filled with heat. The kind of instinct that whispers, something's not right. For months, I'd chalked it up to stress. She was colder, always on her phone, barely touched me anymore. Her stories didn't add up. Late meetings, girls' nights, that new perfume she only wore when I wasn't around. But tonight, I saw it differently. Her mind wasn't with me. It hadn't been for a long time. After dinner, while Kayla laughed and sipped her third glass of champagne with her high society circle, I stepped out onto the balcony and called my old friend Jeremy. He was a private investigator. Not the kind you find on Yelp. The kind ex-cops whisper about. "Jeremy, I need you to find out who's been warming my wife's side of the bed." He didn't ask questions. "Send me her details. I'll start tomorrow." I returned to the table, smiling as if everything was normal. Kayla wrapped her arm around mine for show, like a snake curling around a branch. Her skin felt foreign. On the way home, she stared out the window. "You didn't defend yourself," she said coldly. "You just let him humiliate you." I looked at her and smiled. "Did I?" She turned her head sharply, caught off guard by my calm. Something in her eyes told me she felt it too. This wasn't going to be another one of those nights where I swallowed the disrespect and rolled over like a dog. Something had shifted. The next morning, while she was in the shower humming a tune that didn't belong to our life, I went through her phone. Locked, of course, but I was ready for that. While she was distracted, I airdropped her photos to my laptop. I shouldn't have done it, but I had to. There he was, in 24 photos. Same man, different hotels, different nights. Shirtless, tattooed, smirking at the camera. His name was Chase, a personal trainer from her gym. I stared at one picture for too long, her in a bathrobe, kissing him on the neck. Same bathrobe she wore every Sunday morning while sipping coffee with me. I closed the laptop, heart pounding. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I whispered, "You picked him over me?" She came out of the bathroom in a towel, smiling like nothing happened. "Want to go to brunch?" I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Sure, but we're something nice. I'd hate for your trainer to see you looking sloppy." She froze. For the first time in years, she looked afraid of me. Her face twitched, just for a second. The towel wrapped around her chest slipped slightly, and she clutched it tighter, like my words had physically hit her. "What did you just say?" she asked, voice low testing. I stepped closer, slowly. Not angry, not loud, just cold. "You heard me. Chase. The guy who's been doing more than helping you with squats." Silence. She blinked. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I turned and walked past her, picked up my keys from the kitchen counter, and poured myself a glass of water like this was any normal Sunday. Behind me, I heard her finally breathe out. "You went through my phone?" I laughed once, bitter and dry. "I didn't have to. You left a trail wide enough for a blind man to follow." Now she got defensive. The shift was fast, sharp, like flipping a switch. She crossed her arms and raised her chin. "It's not what you think." "You sure?" I asked, sipping. Because I think you've been sneaking around with a guy who wears more body oil than clothes. You don't know anything about what I've been through, she snapped. Do you have any idea how it feels to be married to someone who dreams too small? I set the glass down. The sound echoed like a gunshot in our silent kitchen. Oh, so now it's my ambition that made you crawl into someone else's bed. I needed someone who saw me, she hissed, her eyes glinting with venom. Not someone who spends every day playing entrepreneur with a fake company and borrowed money. That was the knife, and she twisted it with a smile. I stepped closer. That fake company landed a 7-figure contract last week. Guess who the client was? She frowned, confused. Callahan Real Estate. The same Callahan that made your dad look like a fool last night. She blinked fast. Wait. What? Yeah, I said. Turns out the guy who can't afford an office just got a downtown tower with a 10-year lease, thanks to your father's biggest account. And the best part? I leaned in, my voice a whisper now. Your daddy didn't know? Until last night. Her lips trembled. I thought I saw a flicker of regret. But then she rolled her eyes. Oh, please. You think that makes you a king now? You still drive a used Ford and wear shirts from discount outlets. Chase has a Porsche. And abs. And there it was. That last little push. You know what's funny? I said, you've always cared more about appearances than substance. Your daddy's love, Chase's muscles, the stupid designer handbags you flaunt like war medals. All for what? A life that looks good on Instagram, but is empty as hell in real life. She scoffed, turning away. Don't preach to me. You're just bitter because you never made me happy. I laughed again. Kayla, you were never built for happiness. You were built for validation. That's why you'll never stop chasing men who only see your surface. Because if they ever looked deeper, they'd see nothing but glass. That one hit her. She stormed off, slamming the bedroom door behind her. I sat down on the couch, shaking. I wasn't angry anymore, just exhausted, like a soldier walking off a battlefield full of smoke and ashes. She came out 15 minutes later, fully dressed in designer jeans and a silk top. Hair done, makeup perfect, phone in hand. I'm going to my sister's for a few days, she said flatly. I nodded. Good. Maybe stay longer. She walked toward the door, then stopped. You're going to regret how you treated me. I didn't even look up. No, Kayla. I regret not seeing through you sooner. The door slammed. Silence filled the apartment. I looked around at the space we once called home. Everything felt fake now. Every photo on the wall. Every candle. Every memory. I grabbed my phone and texted Jeremy. I want everything. His address. His car. His job. I'm not done. And I meant it. Because when you love someone for years, only to find out they were laughing behind your back with someone else's hands around their waist, you don't just move on. You make sure they remember the mistake. Jeremy didn't waste time. That same evening, I got a file in my inbox. Photos, background, details. Chase McMillan, 28, high school dropout. Personal trainer at some overpriced gym that catered to rich housewives with neglected rings and inflated egos. Multiple private sessions flagged with married clients. No stable income. No home address. He was crashing at one of his clients' penthouses most weeks. Sleaze in a designer hoodie. The next day, I showed up at his gym. I didn't walk in angry. I walked in calm, cold even. The kind of calm that scared even me. I wore a suit. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted to make a statement. Power isn't just money. It's the ability to walk into a room and make everyone else nervous without saying a word. I stood by the front desk, flipping through the file on my phone when he strutted in from the weight room. Sweat glistening on his forehead, shirt tucked behind his waistline to show off his carved abs. He caught me staring. Smirked. No clue who I was. You here for a session? He asked. Voice cocky, like he owned the room. I walked up, extended my hand. Yeah, I think we've shared a few things recently. Figured it's time we finally met. He looked confused, then cautious. Who are you? Ethan, Kayla's husband. His face dropped. Barely a second. But enough. I smiled. Don't worry. I'm not going to punch you. I don't need to. That's the difference between men like me and guys like you. He shifted his stance. Look, man. Don't speak. I said calmly. I'm not here for a story. I've already got one. I'm here to let you know that your time playing games with other men's wives is over. He chuckled nervously. You threatening me? I leaned in, quiet and slow. Not a threat. Just a reality. Every one of your clients will know exactly who you are by the end of this week. I already drafted the letter. Screenshots. Photos. Full report. One click. That's all it takes. His cocky exterior cracked. He stammered something about Kayla lying to him, about how he didn't know she was married at first. I nodded. Sure. I believe you. Just like you believe your next paycheck is safe. I turned and left without another word. That night, Kayla came back to the apartment. Not because she missed me, but because the walls were closing in. She slammed her purse on the counter. Did you go to his work? I sipped from my whiskey glass. Didn't know you two were still in us. Her tone shifted from fire to panic. You're trying to ruin his life. Correction. I'm just introducing him to his consequences. You handed him the match, Kayla. I'm just watching it burn. She paced the living room, phone clutched in hand like it could save her. You're going too far. You think I went too far? I stood now, the weight of everything exploding from my chest. You brought a stranger into our bed through your lies. You made me feel small in front of your family for years while you were screwing a guy who can't spell responsibility. And now you're mad because I'm not crying in a corner? She went quiet. Then, voice trembling, she said it. I never loved you. There it was. The bullet I was waiting for. She'd been aiming for months. I nodded slowly. Thanks for saying it out loud. Makes the next steps easier. I walked to the safe, pulled out the envelope I'd prepared. Inside, divorce papers. Already signed by me. Already dated. Her hands shook when she read the top line. You're serious? I shrugged. Serious enough to start over. Without a liar in my life. She dropped the papers and just stood there, staring at me, like she couldn't believe I was really doing this. Like she thought her little game had no end. Where are you going to go? She asked. Somewhere with peace. Something you never brought into this house. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize. She just picked up her purse, checked her reflection in the mirror like this was a regular night out, and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back. You'll regret this. No, Kayla, I said. For the first time in years, I finally don't regret something. She closed the door behind her. I stood there in silence. No music. No lights. Just the sound of my own heartbeat slowing down for the first time in months. The first few nights alone were brutal. Not because I missed her, I didn't. I missed who I thought she was. The idea of Kayla. The version of her I built in my head, who laughed at my stupid jokes and told me I was her rock. That version had died long before Chase ever touched her. Maybe she never existed in the first place. The apartment felt like a museum of broken things. Every corner whispered a memory, but they all sounded like lies now. The framed photos of us on vacation, her favorite mug in the cabinet, the perfume still hanging in the bathroom air like poison. I boxed up everything that reminded me of her and shoved it into the guest room. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away yet. Not out of sentiment. Out of strategy. Evidence. A reminder. A warning. 3 days after she left, her sister Jessica called me. First time she'd ever dialed my number directly. Ethan, I heard what happened, she said cautiously. News travels fast when you're in the business of betrayal. She's staying with me. And she's been talking. About you. About the marriage. Let me guess. Everything was my fault. Silence on the line. I sighed. Jessica, if she's looking for sympathy, she's in the wrong place. That's not why I called, she said. I just thought you should know. She's not just seeing Chase. There was someone else before him. A guy from her office. For almost a year. My stomach clenched. You're sure? I asked. Yeah. I saw the messages. She used to brag about how easy it was to get away with it. That did it. Not anger. Not pain. Just a kind of dull, hollow disgust. Like I needed a long shower just to wash off the years I'd wasted. I thanked Jessica and hung up. Then I sat there, staring at the wall, feeling the weight of it all pressed down on me. 2 affairs. Not 1. 2. And who knows how many others I'll never find out about. But this time, I wasn't going to spiral. This time I got up. I opened my laptop and made it official. New office space lease signed. I scheduled meetings with investors, booked 2 speaking events, and even reached out to a friend who ran a podcast about overcoming failure. I told him I had a story to tell. One people needed to hear. A week later, Kayla emailed me. Not called. Emailed. Subject line, can we talk? The body was 2 lines. I've had time to think. I miss you. Maybe we rush things. I stared at it for a solid minute before hitting delete. No response. No second chance. That door wasn't just closed. It was sealed, locked, and bricked over. But the universe wasn't done yet. The next day, I ran into Robert, her father, at a business conference. I was presenting a pitch to a group of angel investors. He didn't see me at first, just sat there in the front row, arms folded, smug as ever, until my name was called, until I walked out on stage and his eyes went wide, until I laid out a flawless pitch that got a standing ovation. And then, after the crowd cleared and the investors huddled around me, he came up, alone. "I didn't know you were involved with this project," he said stiffly. "I'm not involved," I replied. "I own it." He blinked. The color drained from his face again, just like at that dinner. "You've grown," he muttered. "No," I said. "I just stopped shrinking myself for people who didn't deserve me." He opened his mouth like he wanted to say more, maybe even apologize. But I walked away. Let him stand there with his mouth open and his pride in pieces. It felt like justice. Not the loud, explosive kind. The quiet kind. The kind that burns slow and deep. The kind that lasts. That night, I went home, poured myself a drink, and stood on the balcony overlooking the city I was finally starting to claim for myself. Kayla was gone. The betrayal was real. But I wasn't broken. Not anymore. 2 weeks passed. She didn't try again. Not a call, not a message, not even a random thinking of you text. And that told me everything I needed to know. She never loved me. She loved the role I played. The image. The safety net. The background music to her fake little movie. Without me, she had to live in silence. Jeremy called one morning. Said Chase had been fired from the gym. Turns out, someone anonymously forwarded a folder of photos and screenshots to every one of his clients. His bookings dropped to 0 overnight. One woman even filed a harassment complaint after reading the messages he sent Kayla. I didn't ask who sent the folder. Jeremy just said, "Sometimes justice wears a hoodie." I laughed for the first time in a long time. The next few days, I buried myself in work. Not to forget, just to build. Everything I did now had purpose. Fuel. Every late night was a middle finger to the version of me Kayla thought was weak. But the world wasn't done tossing twists my way. On a Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't pick up. Then I heard her voice. "Ethan, please don't hang up." I froze. Her tone was different. No venom. No games. Just broken. "What do you want, Kayla? I need to talk. In person. Please. Just give me 5 minutes." 5 minutes is too many. "I'm pregnant." Silence. My heartbeat slowed. My fingers tightened around the phone. "What?" "I'm late. Took 3 tests. It's positive." I sat down. The room started spinning. "Is it mine?" I asked. Voice flat. She didn't answer right away. I don't know." And there it was. The final nail in the coffin. "You want me to care?" I asked quietly. "You want me to hold your hand through this, like the fool I was? You blew up our marriage, Kayla. You burned the house, and now you're coughing in the smoke and looking at me like I owe you oxygen. I didn't mean for this to happen. You never mean anything. That's the problem. You do, then lie, then blame everyone else for bleeding." She started crying. I let her. I didn't say a word. Just let the silence hang. After a while, I spoke. "If it's mine, I'll do what I need to do. But you? We're done. Forever." I ended the call. A strange calm settled over me. Like the storm had finally passed, and I was standing in the wreckage, breathing. The next morning, I scheduled a DNA test. Through a lawyer. Everything documented. No more direct contact. I told my assistant to prepare for a business trip to Chicago. I needed space. Before I left, I packed the last of her things. Boxed them neatly. Sent them to her sister's place. No message. No note. Just closure in cardboard. On the flight, I stared out the window, thinking about everything I'd been through. How easy it is to lose yourself in love. How betrayal can slice deeper than any knife. How silence can be louder than screaming. But mostly, how healing begins the moment you stop waiting for an apology. Kayla would live her life now in pieces. Maybe pretending she still had control. Maybe chasing another man to fill the hole she dug herself into. Me? I was just getting started. Chicago hit differently. Cold air, busy streets, no familiar shadows. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was dragging dead weight behind me. I checked into a quiet hotel downtown. Nothing flashy, clean, minimal, no memories. Just what I needed. I had a meeting with a group of investors interested in expanding my company's tech division. I walked into that boardroom like I owned the building. No hesitation. No second guessing. And when I was done speaking, one of the older guys looked across the table and said, "You don't sound like a man recovering from betrayal." You sound like a man reborn. And maybe I was. The next day, the lawyer called. DNA test scheduled. I wouldn't be there. Didn't want to see her. My lawyer would handle it all. Clean, distant, professional. Kayla wasn't allowed near my peace anymore. But even from a distance, she still found ways to throw daggers. 2 days after that, a blog post went viral. Some anonymous article titled, "When Your Husband Becomes a Stranger." It was her. Her writing. I knew her tone, her phrasing. Full of passive-aggressive digs. About how success made me cold. How ambition made me unreachable. How women need to feel seen. No names mentioned, of course. Just enough detail to make people assume she was the victim. Comments flooded in, strangers sympathizing with her, calling me emotionally unavailable and toxic. I didn't respond. Didn't post. Didn't defend. But I saved every screenshot. A week later, I got a call. Unknown number. Again. I ignored it. But the voicemail came in. I waited a few hours before listening. It was her father. Robert. Ethan. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve how I treated you. I was wrong. About everything. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, stunned. I don't know what Kayla told you. But she's a reflection of her mother. Always needing more. Always blaming someone else. I wasn't blind. I just didn't care until I saw what it cost. A pause. I'd like to invest in your next venture. No strings. Just a quiet apology with interest. I didn't know whether to laugh or throw the phone. But I called him back the next day. Told him I appreciated the apology, but I didn't need his money. I already had backers. Already had momentum. Already had everything he once said I'd never earn. I just wanted you to know, I said. You didn't break me. She didn't either. He was quiet. Then, good. You deserve better. For once, I agreed with him. The DNA test came back. Negative. Not mine. That should have hurt. It didn't. It freed me. The final string cut. That evening, I went out for dinner alone. Candlelit restaurant. Great steak. Jazz in the background. A table of businessmen nearby were laughing too loud, but I didn't mind. I was thinking about how far I'd come, from the idiot sitting quietly at that dinner table while a rich old man mocked him, to the man sitting alone now, whole, scarred, but alive. Toward the end of my meal, a woman passed my table. Short black dress, confident walk, a glance that lingered just half a second longer than it needed to. She smiled. So did I? And just like that, the world didn't feel so heavy anymore. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need closure. I had something better. Freedom. I flew home the next morning. This time, I didn't feel like I was returning to a graveyard. I walked into the apartment, sunlight pouring through the windows, and it felt like I could breathe again. Really breathe. The air didn't smell like betrayal anymore. It smelled like new beginnings. I sold the couch we used to sit on. Tossed the wine glasses she loved. Repainted the walls. Not for aesthetics, for control. Every change was a middle finger to the ghost of our marriage. When the movers came to take her last box from the guest room, the guy asked, "You want to leave a note or anything?" I shook my head. She knows. He laughed. Rough divorce. I smiled. Rough awakening. A few weeks later, I launched the new branch of my company. Bigger office. Better team. Stronger backbone. I stood at the front of the room during our opening celebration, glass in hand, and said, "We don't play small here. Not anymore." The team clapped. I drank. Later that night, I got one final email from her. Just a single sentence. "Do you ever think about what we had?" I stared at it for a long time. Thought about replying. Thought about writing a paragraph, a poem, a speech. Instead, I clicked archive. Because no, I don't think about what we had. I think about what I survived. What I built from the rubble. What I became when she left. And if you're reading this, if you're in that place right now, the one where betrayal wraps itself around your chest like iron chains, where you wonder if you'll ever be whole again, listen to me. You will. But not by begging. Not by waiting. You heal when you finally realize that love built on lies is just another prison. And when you walk out of it, when you stand on your own 2 feet, bruised but still breathing, that's when the real life begins. Not the life you shared, the one you earned.